always love it when my setup works. Hi everyone, glad to see you all here. I'll just start my timer so I don't overdo. Basically what I'll be talking about today is how we as Icinga are doing our surveys, or did do our surveys. Short introduction for everyone who doesn't know me. My name is Mourek, my pronouns are they, them, and I work both as a trainer for NETWAYS and the developer advocate for Icinga. And the starting question is, why did we start to do surveys? Well, basically, as an open source project, as some of you may know, you don't really get a whole lot of feedback from your users, and you oftentimes don't have the telemetry to see what they are doing with your product. At least that's how it was for us. And the only metrics we had were GitHub issues and what we did in our forum and could read people were doing. So the thing that we asked ourselves first is, like, what kind of data do we actually want from the people? What kind of information do we need, and how can we get it? This led to us making different kind of surveys for different purposes. So we did an online user survey where we asked people about their setups and what they were doing in a very detailed manner. Would take half an hour maybe to answer. A lot of people did it, which was really cool. We also started visiting customers and partners and having a face-to-face interview with them about how they use Icinga and how they use their interfaces. We started doing social media surveys, which were more centered about marketing, basically, and how we reach our people, our community. And we also do stuff like meetups or camps, like the one that's happening tomorrow. And what those surveys looked like, well, basically our online surveys that we used, because they were very accessible, people could answer anonymously, and because they were very fast to create, well, relatively fast, and to answer. And they were just, basic questions about their environment. We had those in-person interviews, which were really useful because customers could bring up their own topics, because it was super flexible. People could spontaneously offer us insights about things they struggled with, and you had just that personal connection. And the social media polls that we did, mostly on Twitter, but also on Facebook and or Instagram and LinkedIn, was basically a way for us to create engagement, because they are super, super quick. People can just click on it and move on, and because they're open for everyone who wants to answer. So it was very easy for us to generate information for the people. And we had those meetups, those conferences like we have now, where we speak and where we are also able to have people speak on topics of Icinga, offer their insights, and have their free-form and current topics discussed. And the main point we had in mind is, like, how do we ask questions? How can we actually design our questions so people would come to a point where they can comfortably answer us? And the first thing was, we need to ask very few questions, because long surveys really make people want to drift off or stop answering after a while because it gets too much for them or asks too much of their time. And you need to make sure that you use easy language, both in the sense of plain English, don't make it too complicated, but also make it accessible to users that might not have used your product for a very long time, but you still want to get their information. So if you ask for a very complicated setup, they might not know it and they might skip the survey altogether. And you also need to make sure that you include all possibilities, because there are always edge cases. So if you ask your questions, there always has to be a possibility for someone to answer truthfully. So you can't say, do you use this? Yes, no, because what if someone doesn't know what you're talking about, what you're asking? So always make sure to have another option. And you need to keep your answers bias-free. So don't ask loaded questions. Don't already imply in the questions that this is the correct answer, and try to make sure that your wording fits that as well, because then you might not get real answers from your users. And don't conflate questions. So if you have multiple things you want to know, ask multiple questions. It's very easy to conflate more questions into one, like which database are you using? Conflates, are you using a database setup yourself? and which one are you using? So make sure to separate those questions and have the second one as an optional one. And limit the amount of text boxes. No one wants to type a lot, ever. And you don't want to read through it all. So basically, my 5 minutes are over. Think about what data or what you want to do with the data. Write it down. Make sure you have everything together. And repeat your surveys regularly so you can learn from the data. And talking in person is incredibly valuable. You'll get direct feedback, and be prepared to be surprised, because no one will give you any positive feedback unless you ask for feedback in general. People won't come to you with stuff like this. Thank you.